Welcome to me and
Phil
Malcolm.
Margo, the lion roars, and this is
Lion
Malcolm
Road and
Berman.
Malcolm and Malcolm Berman.
I,
That
I,
Malcolm.
on
Um, so
malcolmpresents.com.
yes, you certainly are, and say it loud and be proud. So anyway, here we are, and what happened is that Mitch McConnell stood in the well of the Senate today and said, "Yes, Joe Biden is the president elect."
Yes, congratulations.
He did
Big
that.
hand.
And so did some of the other senators, and and apparently Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell spoke to Joe Biden. Okay, which is pretty amazing right there. Um, and the news. I mean, first of all, the news is what are you looking at?
Yeah,
Keep your eyes open.
this is not on the air. You're full screen on the air now.
Oh, I wasn't on the air before.
No, you were on the air, but now I can control whether you're full screen or we double
It's on
screen.
the control the vertical. See outer limits, right?
Right.
Anyway, so as I was saying, a lot of the first of all, it was big news today that Moderna, the next vaccine that's up, is going to be approved by Friday, which is 95% effective as well.
Right, but that doesn't
And
have to be. Does
and
that
it
have to be
doesn't have to be
frozen?
kept it doesn't have to be kept at 100 degrees below zero or whatever. But that's going to be approved, and then there'll be a lot of other ones following. But people still have to socially distance and wear a mask through this whole process, because wearing a mask and being socially distant is the trick to preventing this virus from spreading. All those people who insist that it impinges on our freedoms are wrong. It doesn't impinge on our freedoms. What you folks are doing, who think that it impinges on your freedom by not wearing a mask and not socially distancing, you're impeding on my freedom. Okay, I have freedom to not breathe in your air. Okay, so right here at the end of my nose is where your freedom ends, and actually further away, because if it inhales, this virus is floats in the air. That's why they stay 6 to 20 feet away. Um, so that's one thing. Next, you can't get into crowds with a lot of people sitting together indoors for a long time. If you do that, people will get the virus. You know how he said people will come? Well, people will get the virus. All you have to do is check out the White House. The White House had that, and people got the virus. What more do you need in proof? Okay. And now getting to the other thing is the fact that a lot of the pundits are saying that because there's such a disconnect, the Republicans all hate the Democrats and the Democrats all hate the Republicans and all of that. That was an example set by by the by the outgoing president, and he set a bad example. He told lies that you all bought. I can understand how you bought these lies because I know the history of the Holocaust, and all of the people in Germany bought Hitler's lies. You see,
Well,
and everybody in Russia is buying Putin's lies while he lines his pocket and the people starve.
Well, you
So
want to
I
believe.
let lies.
People want to believe what they want to believe.
No, they want to believe what they're told to believe.
Right,
I mean,
right, but
what you're saying is correct to a point. I don't disagree. When I said no, I didn't really mean no. Yes, people believe what they want to believe, but also people believe what they're told to believe more. Why do you
you,
think there are leaders who lead their people? When Moses said, I got the 10 Commandments, all of the Hebrews followed him. You know, now if somebody came down and said, I just came down from Arrowhead and I have these tablets made out of plastic that say, be nice to each other, don't hurt each other, have respect for each other, obey the law.
yeah.
As you get to the Constitution,
Going back to
nuts.
going back to Moses and the Ten Commandments. I forget the name of the movie, but I think it's Mel Brooks as Moses coming down with the, and he says, I have 20, and then parts of it drop. He said, I have 10 commandments.
History, right. Yeah, he drops one. He said,
Right.
I have 10 commandments. No, yeah, I
He,
remember that movie.
he
That was
had
funny.
20, he had 20 coming down,
Right.
and then he dropped one tablet.
But the fact of the matter is that people believe what they're told to believe more than you know, especially during a time of stress, when all they want is to be told everything is going to be okay. And if Hitler said, I'm going to take care of all of you, I'm going to feed you all, I'm going to make Germany great again, it's going to be a Fourth Reich, we're going to do great. And what it was it ended, whatever it was, 9 years later, whatever it was, 36 to 45, it ended in him killing himself and hiding in a bunker, which is familiar now if you think about the parallels of Trump hiding in his White House. It's nicer than a bunker, but he's doing the same thing. He's getting word out with his tweets, which is like Hitler did with Goebbels, and he's hiding in a bunker because he lost the fucking election. That's it, Charlie. You're done. And whatever kind of rebop the Republicans want to try when the Senate and House have to confirm Biden's election, they could dance around like a bunch of morons. It's not going to matter. On January 20th at noon, Joe Biden will be inaugurated as the next president, and Kamala Harris will become the next vice president, which is something every single woman in this country should scream and yell about, because she's the first woman to be a vice president in 240 years.
Yeah. Do you think there'll be any violence during the?
Yes, there'll be violence. There was violence yesterday. There was people, because people who tend to be violent don't need much of an excuse. They're just mean. There are people that are just mean people that like to hurt other people. What's the word? What's the word for somebody who likes to hurt people?
Mean people, sadists.
A people herter.
No, they're sadistic.
There are people that just don't care that they hurt people, and they want any excuse. And I know, because I was with the police 3 years in New York, so I understand it a little bit. I've seen it. I've been there. There are just people that are mean, ratty, evil people, and they'll use any excuse to be violent.
Right, like they say, Trump didn't make them that way. He allowed them to be what they are.
He gave them an excuse to do it publicly.
Right.
Most of them did it in privately. They had their little things in their Ku Klux Klan meetings in there. Why? Yeah. We hate black people. We hate everybody that's not like us.
For whatever reason, as you and I, we were both Jewish. By the way, happy Hanukkah, which will tonight.
Yes.
Fifth night.
And I watched this wonderful little movie on Hallmark called Love, Lights, and Hanukkah. And it's a wonderful little story about a chef in an Italian restaurant, in her 20s, 30s, you know what I mean, 25 to 35. And she's a very successful chef. And she does a DNA thing and finds out that she's 50% European, East European Jewish.
Yeah.
Now, this is a girl who was raised Catholic all her life. She celebrated Christmas, and all of a sudden she finds out she's Jewish. And I don't want to give away. It's Mary Lou Henner is in the movie as well. You don't remember Mary Lou Henner from Tennessee? Do you know Mary Lou Henner has a trait that only 100 people in the world have?
What is that?
She remembers everything. She remembers everything. She remembers what she did August 20th at 9 o'clock in the morning. She remembers what she did 50 years ago. Remembers what it smelled like, who was with her, what time it was.
Yeah, I saw her one time on 60 Minutes or something. They did an interview with her. I think it was 60 Minutes.
Yeah, fascinating. I mean, where were you August 2nd? Oh, I was in the, and that's it. Anyway, in this movie, maybe I'll spoil it a little bit. So, so the girl who finds out she's 50% Jewish decides she wants to find out if there's any matches for her, DNA matches, because, she wants to see if she has any relatives she
Relatives.
doesn't know about, right?
Yeah.
And she finds one. And she goes and visits the family, and it's during Hanukkah and Christmas. And Mary Lou Henner is the mother, right? And and the girl, our girl, was adopted. So she wasn't, she was raised by a single woman who was also a chef, but she was adopted. So she finds out that Mary Lou Henner is her mother, is her birth mother.
Ah.
And then it goes from there.
You
It's
got some-
it's a delightful, and they do the two bruchas on the Hanukkah. They teach Hanukkah, and it's adorable how this actress does it. She says Hanukkah, and I said no, it's because most people who aren't Jewish don't know how to say Hanukkah.
I had a girlfriend. Yeah, I had a girlfriend. I had a girlfriend that couldn't cha.
Yeah, just like you say, it's Christmas. I mean, it's Christmas. So, but anyway, it's a wonderful little movie, and I think if you get Hallmark, it's called Love, Lights, and Hanukkah, and I think it's probably still on. They run their movies a whole lot of times. And this movie,
I think that's the reason on certain cards or certain greetings, Hanukkah is spelled CH, and on other things they drop out the C and it's HA. So I guess one is Hanukkah and the other is Hanukkah.
Yeah, but the way it's pronounced, it's a ches.
It's for people who couldn't cha. Speaking about Ancestry.com,
people have no problem saying Hanukkah.
Yeah. Speaking about Ancestry, which I did the spit test. My son, I think it was for my birthday, signed me up, and you had to spit in something or other, a little test tube, send it in. Lo and behold, you know what I found out? I'm 100% East European Jew.
So am I.
Like I didn't know before.
My son did that. My great grandfather and great grandmother were from England. They lived in Liverpool. My grandmother was English. She was born in England.
An English Jew, or was she Jewish?
Yes. No, my grandmother was Jewish. My grandfather's name was Philip Leibowitz.
Oh, Phil Leibowitz, huh?
But he came from Russia. He lived in England, but he came from Russia. So, because I said, because my son did the DNA thing for himself, and he said, I'm 100% European Jewish. I said, I thought we were from Palestine, and my grandmother was from England. He said, no. And because he's very interested in all that genealogy, and he looked back and he said, no, your grandfather, Philip Lieberman. I said, right, Lieberman, not Leibowitz, Lieberman. He checked it, and he said that no, he's not from England. He's not born in England. They emigrated to England, and they were all from Russia.
Yeah, a lot of
most of my family was from Russia and Lithuania.
Yeah, but Lithuania, I'm not sure whether I'm Lithuanian or Ukrainian but they were part of Russia at one time.
Ukraine. I have Ukraine, Lithuania, and Poland.
Yeah,
but I'm 100% of what I am. But that's all.
And you have the circumcision to prove it.
So regarding and of course Moderna is going to be more vaccines, but it's going to take this. We're not going to be normal again for another year at least.
Another year, I figure.
I mean, things will open up. Things will start to feel a little better, within the next 3 to 6 months. But the vaccine is not going to stop this pandemic. We have to stop it. We have to stop it by being more judicious, by wearing masks. Biden President-elect Biden says, give me 100 days wearing masks. That's all they want, 100 days. Give me 100 days, wear your mask, socially distance, don't get involved in crowds, stay out of crowds, and we can lick this, because other countries have. And the minute they go back, it starts up again. Doesn't that tell you something?
Well,
It tells you work and socially distancing works.
yeah, what I could see, which is very obvious, when do we go into spikes? We go into spikes when there's a holiday, when,
Right.
we had this
We
Thanksgiving.
have to not do it.
2 weeks later, we're having this spike. It's
Yes.
going to happen
And
during Christmas.
there's always a holiday. I mean, when there is not a holiday, there's Valentine's Day, there's Christmas. You'll never get through it. You have to. In the beginning, when they shut down the state, it started leveling off. If you remember,
Yeah.
California was had one of the least problems. And then our governor, who I'm not a fond friend of, I think he made a great mistake, started opening it up because I think it's oil. I think it's all oil. This is all about oil. I don't care what anybody says, it's about oil. The power of this country, the financial power of this country, with all the things that are said, and the drug companies are this, and Amazon and that. No, the oil companies. Those are the ones who don't want to see empty roads. Those are the ones who don't want to see people not going in airplanes, because they're not using oil. Putin's whole fortune was in jeopardy for this, because his whole regime depends on oil. The oil revenue. So, and oil has been and still is the most powerful elixir in the world financially. And I think that in order to start controlling this pandemic, we have to start. I mean, I wear a mask. I wear a mask. I don't go out much. Today I went to pavilions, but I wear a mask and I stay away. I do what I can. But when people go to religious services, it's against the very idea of God. God said, Jesus and God said, treat each other the way you want to be treated. So these people want to get pandemic, they want to get the virus, or they don't. If you don't go into crowds. You can pray from your house. We had my granddaughter's bat mitzvah. We had remote, just the immediate members of the family did it. We all wore masks and we did it outside in my backyard.
Well, I think we discussed this before. I think that the biggest mistake, again, if there is a God, that God made was giving us free will. By giving us free will, it's like throwing 3 pit bulls in a ring and saying, okay, let's see what they'll do.
No. I don't believe that. I believe free will is important. If you don't have free will, you have nothing.
Why?
If you don't have free will, nothing changes.
Yeah, but now
How can you have free will? What if a guy says, I'm going to fly, and the guy says, no, you can't fly? I mean, free will is what makes human beings. Ants don't have free will.
But what is our ultimate goal? I mean, or at least religious-wise, it's to get to heaven.
There is no ultimate goal.
The religious people is to get the reward for living is to get to heaven instead of going to hell. Now in heaven, everything is good.
Yeah, but do you realize that? Yeah, but that's a crock of shit. And you know why? Because every family who wants to get to heaven doesn't want to lose their father or their brother or their mother or their siblings. They don't want to lose their people, their family. That's their family. So, I mean, if the asteroid hits and we all go to heaven together, sure, what the hell, but that's just tilted belief. Because, I mean, I've been to a lot of funerals, and most people don't say, oh yeah, he's in heaven and we're going to join him. No, they miss the person.
Oh, you definitely miss the person. But if you listen to any of the shows where the people are Christian or Catholic, they say, oh, yeah, he's in a far better place, or she's in a far better place now. Right, they're with their parents or with their children who might have passed before.
So did Sidney Carton. say that. It's a far, far better place than I go.
Yeah, it's a far,
You
far
don't
better
know
thing.
that.
It's a far,
You
far
don't
better
know
thing I
that.
do than I've ever
You
done
do
before.
know, you do know right for sure when you hug somebody you love and you're with somebody you love, whether it's a child or a parent or your spouse, you know you love them and you know you don't want them to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So anybody who says that is jerking themselves off. I'm sorry. The
Pa-
object
pa-
of mankind, you know what the object of mankind is? There's no object.
yeah. Well,
Maybe,
my
maybe God said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put these people with free will on this planet that's beautiful. And I'm going to hope that they can figure out a way to take their civilization all over the universe.
and screw it up.
I mean, what if we're the first? What if we're really the first life in the universe? Somebody has to be the first, right? It didn't
What,
all start at once. I mean, right
what do you mean
now, we
first?
can't discover the first intelligent sentient beings in the universe, the first beings to think, to be able to write down their own history, to be able to write a book. You know, whales are smart, porpoises are smart, but they can't write a book. They can't write down their history. You don't know what the first whale's name was. You know,
Yeah, Moby Dick.
we have pictures of the first male, you know, on caves, you know, but I think mankind's destiny is to populate the stars. That's what you know, and it's not that far from the idea of heaven, if you think about it. If we, you know, there's a lot of parallels between the scientific beliefs or theories of how we got here and the biblical ones. Like the Big Bang was from a singularity. Well, is not God a singularity? And to populate the stars, to wind up in the heavens. Isn't that the whole idea
Yeah.
of you just said? We wind up in heaven?
Well, my question is, what did God do before he created the earth and man?
Oh, you don't know that?
No.
Oh, hockey player. He was a goalie. He was a good.
He
Nobody
was,
knew how good he was. You know, he was like the best goalie in the
but
league.
who did he play against? There was no man.
No, he played against, you know,
Other gods?
ethereal creatures. There was other creatures besides God. There were angels. Didn't
No,
angels? Where did the angels come from?
the,
Los Angeles. No,
the angels came from San Diego.
no, the angels. There were
They,
angels in heaven. God
weren't
had
they
a
the San
system.
Diego? Weren't they a San Diego team
Gabriel,
or Anaheim? Where were the
Anaheim.
angels before Anaheim?
They were the Los Angeles Angels.
No.
Yes, they played in the Coliseum, I think.
Yeah, but that was before they built the thing in Anaheim. But the Los
And then they
Angeles
moved to
Angels came
Anaheim.
from another. I think it was San Diego. I'm not sure.
The San Diego Padres were always in San
Oh
Diego.
yeah, maybe. But my thing is, where did the Los Angeles Dodgers come from?
Well, they came from New York, but they didn't. But
They
they were
came from New
thrown.
York. They came from Brooklyn.
But they were thrown
See,
out.
Brooklyn.
Right, but they were thrown out of. They were thrown out of Brooklyn.
No, they
See,
wouldn't give him. They wouldn't give him a stadium.
they wanted them to have the stadium in Queens,
Right,
in Fishing Meadows,
and that
where
didn't.
the was. And Walter O'Malley says, I don't want to have the Brooklyn Dodgers in Queens. And he wanted the area that where the Nets play now.
Right.
I mean, it's funny that it wound up. O'Malley wanted to be there and build a stadium right in that area because it was easy to get to by all kinds
By
of
subway,
conveyance.
right? By subway and by Long Island Railroad.
Railroad and you know, he was right. He was absolutely right.
It was actually
Robert Moses didn't
Robert
believe.
Moses didn't let him do it. It's all Moses's fault.
Yes, it is. It is. I mean, but it was a great break. But it was a great break for the Dodger organization.
Oh, money wise, it was fantastic.
First of all, you had all year playing. I mean, you didn't have winter. You didn't have, you know, you had a stadium you could use all year round for.
And all they had to do was kick 500 Latino families out of Chavez Ravine and give them the area.
Yeah, Well, you know, the Screen Actors Guild kicked me out of the healthcare.
I heard
They
that.
didn't think twice. They didn't think twice. They just threw me out like I was used up. There's a lawsuit, but we'll see how that happens.
Well, you are used up. You're not doing anything. You should do some more music.
I don't, you know, I don't know. I'm not, I have no ambition to do anything. This year just sucked everything out of me, you know. I think when I lost my brother, it took a lot out of me
Yeah,
too.
as you know, I have a show with your sister, The Many Shades of Green,
Yeah,
and she really sorely misses Mitch.
yeah,
How
yeah,
he died 3 years ago,
yeah, not 2017. It's
2017. Well,
yeah,
as I
3 years.
say, I have another show which is called Up Close and Personal, and we're going to do a holiday show with you and Maxine talking
Close
about
enough.
talking talking about your old days in Brooklyn and an area that I'm familiar with, Brighton Beach, which is you're my
I
neighbor from
always,
Coney Island.
I always thought that I was the luckiest kid on earth, that I grew up in the best place to grow up ever. I grew up in Brighton Beach, Brooklyn. We played stickball and punchball on the street. We played hide and go seek. We made up our own games. We built scooters out of wooden boxes and 2x4s and a broken pair of roller
Roller
skates.
skates, yeah.
We had the Brooklyn Dodgers, our own team. I had my own beach 2 blocks away. We'd walk every summer. People would get on the subway and travel all the way to Brighton Beach, to my beach. I mean, I thought it couldn't get any better. I had one, and my parents were wonderful. I had good friends. I had friends that challenged me and friends that I was close with. You know, I still am very close with one of them. You know, that I grew up with. I don't know where many of them are, but in fact, a couple of them I speak to fairly regularly. But I always thought I was the luckiest kid on earth. You know, I had a great childhood, and you know, so growing up in Brooklyn, I went to a terrific high school, and I was very anonymous. I mean, nobody knew who I was. I just did my own thing, and I was, you know, I wasn't interested in schoolwork, in doing homework and studying. And I was like a 70 student, you know. I had no real desire. I didn't want to go to Brooklyn Tech. I didn't want to go to Bronx High School of Science, although I went and took the exams because all my friends did. And of course I was a lousy student. So how am I going to do good on those tests, you know? And I wound up going to Brooklyn College at night for 1 year. And during that time I worked on Wall Street, and you know, and then I got into the record business
And then you
because
became a rock star.
well, I worked in the Catskill Mountains. I taught myself how to play the piano during the during the summer of '58, and in '59 I got a job as a piano player in the band in the Catskill. We started a band. I started a band right away, and we played local. We got $5 a night each. We made five. There were four of us. We got $20 a night to play a Sweet 16 or a local gig. You know,
But you got
it was really cool.
but you got all the food you could eat.
Oh, well, not well, pigs and blankets and knishes.
I worked as I worked as a waiter up in the Catskills, busboy and waiter for
Okay.
about 4 years.
Well, no, I was, believe it or not, I was the piano player in the band, but on weekends I was the lifeguard because I was the only, because I had a lifesaver. I took senior life saving in high school. At my high school, it was an after school program. But I took senior life saving, so I had a senior life saving certificate. So they were able to pay me an extra $25 on the weekend to be the lifeguard for the hotel.
Okay, now let's bring it full circle. What does this have to do with Donald Trump?
Nothing.
Give me the connection.
Soon, nothing. Soon, not Donald Trump. I'm hoping the solution to this whole problem he will be as successful as a not president as he was as a president and as a businessman. He was a failure in everything he did. Without his father, he would be an average schmuck who probably didn't even go to college.
Yeah,
So
well,
now he's just a schmuck, you know.
Well,
but
again,
the less we say about him, the better.
yeah, well, he's still going to be play an important role in the next
I don't
year at
think so.
least.
I don't think so. I have the feeling, and I have nothing to base it on,
Yeah.
but the fact that he failed at everything else he did. You know, yes, he got elected president, but that was a sham. And then he failed at being president.
But,
Failed. Look where he left this country.
yeah, well, we don't know where he left the country until he's out of office.
We don't even have to know the rest of it. It's not. You think it's going to get better?
No, it's gonna get worse.
Okay, so it's pretty shitty now, right?
Yep.
He left us in a pandemic with 3,000 people a day dying, over 300,000 dead.
300,000 people.
Didn't bother to get some extra vaccine from Pfizer because he didn't want to spend the money. They didn't help the people who are in trouble now, who are getting evicted, who are starving, who haven't got jobs, who need help. Doesn't even, not a whim. He's too busy trying to prove that he won the election.
Well,
That
I think
that's already the electoral votes have already been tallied.
I think
Even
we're in a
Mitch
worse.
McConnell.
I think we're in a worse financial situation than people believe, because I think the national debt is through the ceiling. I think he doubled it. And number two, there's more of a gap between people with money and people without money. I mean, it's huge.
Yes,
You know,
the national debt is bullshit. No one cares about it. It was an issue for the Republicans for 100 years, and yet they went and blew it through the roof.
well, they're going to make it. They're going to make it an issue again. But anyway, Phil, the magic buzzer went off. Our time is up. Say
And now
goodbye.
I know I have to go on Google.
And anyway, have a great weekend or week.
Happy day.
And I'll
Be
speak
well.
to you next. Happy Hanukkah. Hanukkah will be over. This is the
Yes, remind
fifth
me
night.
when we're going to do up close and personal.
Okay. Take it easy.
Au
Bye,
revoir.
folks. Yeah, by the way, we're on malcolmpresents.com. The Lion
Malcolm
Bros.
Presents.com.
Phil Margo.
Live long and prosper.
Bye.